Hi guys, welcome to the course. So from this app, To-Do's app, we're gonna learn a library called Redux. So how can we implement the Redux in our React app, which we're gonna learn in from following videos. So this is the To-Do's app. As you can see, this is the list of items or to-dos that you can do. Whenever you enter something, you can see this is the list will appear or added to this list, and you can also delete some items from it by clicking on this X font. Now one thing you can do also, that whenever you click on some text, you can see that it will be reflected back to this input, and you can edit this part and also save it at the same place. And one more thing you can do this is to delete all, so that all the list will be deleted. And I have added one more thing that's called you can say this is a local storage, like it has been stored locally into your browser. So if you just reload this page also, you will see this will be intact here. So these are the following things that we're gonna make using Redux. And you can use the simple state management that you do, but if you want to do some complex editing or many other things, so this is why we prefer the Redux library. And how to implement this, we're gonna see how can we do this in the following videos. So let's first of all, we're gonna do some styling, take some fonts and use the background, and also make this input tag in this video. So for doing all this, I'm going to not use the at this time VS Code. I'm going to use this code sandbox. In here you can see the live editor you can use in here. As you can just use something, it will be edited this part. So we're gonna use this part for coding. Now for viewing purpose, I'm going to uh, sort this, or we can use this web link for seeing what we can do. So in here you can see that we got the web browser list. Now I'm going to just widen this. Um, yeah Now in here I'm going to first use the fonts that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the royal one. So in here where I can get the royal one, so in here I'm going to use this celestial part. Okay, it will be different, but this is the background that I'm going to use. So just click to copy in here. So from here you can just take the background that you want to keep in your browser. Now back to your code. In here in our style.css, in the body tag, I'm going to give the styling in here. So if you just save it, and you can see in here also that it will be changed. Yeah, right. Now I'm going to also give the font color to be some white, but not full white. uh, yeah. Now this is the font color, as you can see in here. Now one thing to do is to select the font style that I'm going to use. I'm going to use this Roboto. Now I have to embed this link into my code. So back to your index.html, just paste in here and just save it, and also use this font family also, Roboto. Now just go to your code and go to your style.css and paste in here. Now this is what it looks like now for Rafa. Now let's go to your app.js. I'm going to create new components in here. So first of all, what we're gonna create a input field component for the input tag, as you can see in the code, which I haven't built it right now. So I'm going to build in our source folder. Going to create a new component folder called components. Now in components, I'm going to create a new file called that the same input field .js. Now in input field, I'm going to use import React from React. Also the using the class component and the name of the class I'm going to give input field and extends to react.component. Also going to use this render method for rendering the JSX code, as you know. So in here I'm going to return it. Now also the export default for exporting this file so that in app.js you can import it. As you can see in here, this basically works like the VS code. Now in here for now, yeah, we're gonna create a form tag, and in the form tag I'm going to use the input field. Input field will have the type text, name to be to do, and the placeholder you can say enter your to do. Going to close it. You can see here we got the enter your to do. Also in our app.js, I'm going to use the h1 tag for giving the app that we are building, the name of the app that we are building. And in here to do app, we got the to do app. And also going to styling, I'm going to use css in js like inline styling. So in here I'm going to give to be text decoration to be underline. Okay, now I'm going to save it. In our input field we have to change the styling a bit. So in our style.css in here I'm going to give the styling in here. So basically the input tag will have the background the same as the in outside background. So you can give this border box so that it will have the same background as the body tag. Now for font color, I'm going to give the font color same as that we have given. So I'm going to give this one, and also I'm going to give the border top to be none. Okay, so in here I'm going to give maybe width of maybe 200 pixel. Yep. Now in here I'm going to just save it, and on also style.css I'm going to save it now, and just go to this React app and just refresh it. You can see that we got this entire to-dos. And also in our input field I'm going to use this on change method. So first of all we haven't used the Redux, but we're gonna see the Redux in the next video. So in here I'm going to use the simply state management of the React that gives. So in here I'm going to use on change and going to handle change. I'm going to create a new our own method. So we need this dot handle change because we are using the class component, right? So for the class component we have to use this keyword. So in here handle change, as it's on change method, so it gives a event. So in event you can type in here this dot set state and to do e dot target dot value. That's it. So yeah, so we have made this in here. I'm going to also give some padding, maybe good. Yeah, so in here the padding you can give maybe 5 pixel, 5 pixel and 0. Okay, 5 pixel is good. Yeah, so this is the styling and all things are done. In the next video we're gonna see how can we, like whenever we type in here, it will add to a list in here, and this is all be done through the Redux part. Hi guys, in this video we're gonna see how to implement Redux. So first of all, I have included the libraries that we need Redux and React-Redux. So you can install it from a dependency and typing the name that you want, that's Redux, and the same as React-Redux. Now, first of all, why we need these two libraries? So Redux, as you know, that we need Redux implementation and also React Redux, because that's how React will be connected to the Redux code. Now, in here, if you using the VS Code, so you have to just type in npm space I space Redux space React Redux, and so that it will be installed in one go. Now in here I have also used created a new folder called Redux so that it will look nice, and we have created two new folder again inside the Redux called action Redux reducer and store.js. So why we made this, we're gonna see why it all have been made. So now first of all we're gonna see in our input field in here what I have used. I have created this on submit and this dot handle submit, so that it will call this handle submit function. So now in here what happens that whenever you call this method, it will call anything that is written inside this code, and it will be reflected back to this React app, and you will see, so look, you will see that we will have a list in here. So how we do this? So basically we're gonna see how can we do this. So in here in action I have created a new file called add todos.js. What happens in here, that let's see what happens in here. So first of all what we're gonna do, I'm going to use export const, and I'm going to give a function call in here, and the parameter I will give, I'm just simply writing a function. Just you have to know that I am simply writing the function in here and returning something, because this bracket, as you know, this is returns small return. So we're gonna just return. This is the same as that. I'm going to, this is the same thing. Like whenever you type in here return, this is the same thing that what I am doing in here. So what I'm doing in here, I'm going to return an object. So I'm going to return an object. Now in here I have used this type key, and also there is one payload. So payload is to be payload. So basically I'm going to change this payload parameter to the name is to do. So we are sending, so what happens that this function, this method will be called by this handle submit. So it will look like this, that we're gonna use add to do, and we're gonna send this to do uh, object or to do name inside it. So let's forget about this. What I'm going to see in here, let's see in here. So in here I have said to do and giving the payload name as a to do. Now what's a type? We're gonna see what's a type. So basically I'm going to write a string in here. What it is, we're gonna see right now. So this is the action that we're gonna do. This is the method that we're gonna call whenever we handle submit, whenever we send the data from this handle submit button. Now let's see. Now in here, this is the reducer part, and this is the important part because we're gonna see why it is. So now in here I'm going to use, you can give the name anyone and you want. I'm going to give just name AD, just it looks good. So I have given the name add to do dot reducer.js. So I'm going to also change the name of add to add to do action.js. Now just save it. Now in here, first of all, we have see that we made some state. So this is the initial state that I'm going to make. And in initial state, what I'm going to give, the to-dos to be, first of all, it will be a null. Okay, or we're gonna see it's an array. What it is inside, there is nothing inside first of all. Now in here what I'm going to do, we're gonna export const add to do. This is a function that we're gonna call. It will take two parameter, that is state, this is the state, and the default parameter that I'm going to give initial state, and the action. Okay, what I am doing in here, what it is, that this state, as you can see, and this action basically is this one, this action. So what I'm going to write inside this code is to check that which action that we're gonna call. So how can we check? So in Redux we use this action dot type. So basically it's checking for this action dot type, and yeah, we have sent this type to be add to do. Now it will check for many actions, that's why we have used this type keyword, so that it will check which type of action that you wanna check. So in here, in our case, we're gonna see this add to do, right? And the strings to be same, so that it will call correct. Now I'm going to return something from here, and we will see later. And here, first of all, we're gonna default. As you know, in any programming language we need this default keyword, and in return it's gonna return the same state. Now in here, if you don't know the spread operator, just see this, that it's basically that we're gonna return the object, this object, but first of all it will spread all the uh, you can say all the content inside this state. So basically in our case this is only one, this is to do's, so it will spread these to do's. So we can type in here to do's, and in here what we know that we need state. So basically it's checking for the previous state, as you know, that whatever thing inside these to do's. And what we need concatenation, or you can give the push method. I'm going to give concat, and I'm going to push this concat payload. So yeah, this is the thing that you have to know, that whatever the payload that we get from this action, this is the thing that we have done in here. So whatever the action payload that we get, I'm going to push the content inside this state, and it's going to return a new content, new state basically. So this is the thing that we have made, but we have just made the, what we can say, we have just made the reducer or state, or we have made the action that we're gonna call, but this is not right now connected to our React code. So in our store.js, this is the, you can say, the powerhouse of the state, as you know, as you can see. So in here, what we need basically create store, and from where we will get from Redux, of course. So in here from Redux, what we need create store, and we need apply middleware. This is middleware, I'm gonna say that we will see right now. Yeah, so this is the apply middleware. So what's apply middleware, we're gonna see, but just import it for now. And in here I'm going to const store, and I'm going to export it. Basically what it is, why I have said this is the powerhouse of the state, because all the state that we're gonna give is going to store in a bulk way in here. It will be stored inside the store const. And how can we do this? We can do this using create store. This is basically we are saying that we are creating a store in here. So what we need, as you can see, that we need a reducer. So we know that the reducer, we need add to do reducer, right? We have made. So I'm going to just import it, and now we need some enhancer, any enhancer that you can give. We can just simply look down, but we need basically, if you want to debug any your code, so basically you need this apply middleware. So what we can give in here, so for this we are going to install one more dependency that's called Redux logger. So yeah, this is the Redux logger, as you can see in here. So just I have installed it for VS Code. Like if you're using VS Code, for this you have to use npm i Redux logger. That's how you can install it in your VS Code. Now in here, you just have to give in here logger. If you type in here logger, it will be basically used in here. So this is how it can be done. Now we have made the store, we have made the action, we have made the reducer. What we need next is to provider. So what's provider in here? So basically the provider, you can say, is a root component, so that anything that we are going to provide is going to get inside all this field. So here we don't know if we need this. Yeah, we no, here we don't know this. We can give in here, but the best place to give any component is to be, basically it's, you can say, best practices, as you can say. So in index.js will be the best place to give in here. So in here you can give the provider method. In provider you can give the store, and if you type in here, basically in the VS Code also you can get this IntelliSense, as you can see in here that we got IntelliSense in here. So we can just use it here, and I'm going to just wrap it up. Yeah, so this is done. Now what we need next is, we have given the index.js all the storage, all the bulk of state inside it. As you can see in here that we got some to do's, but we haven't see how can we gonna call this method. So that's how we got one more connect. This connect we got from React Redux. So basically I have said it, what does React Redux does. It's like giving the code, React code to the Redux. So it's basically a bridge between React and Redux. So what we need, we're gonna use this, you can see double function method. As you can see, you can learn in Google that how can we do this. So it's like higher order component. So in here you can give here two argument we given. So first argument is map state to props. So basically from this map state to props, what we get the state, okay? And from map space to props is that how we're gonna call a function or an action. So we don't need this map state to props for now, because we're gonna call map dispatch to props. So in here I'm going to use create a map dispatch to props, and we need this dispatch, and it's going to return some object. And by returning some object, as you know, we're gonna use add to do. So basically dispatch means like we are dispatching some action. So it's add to do is an key, and we're gonna give to do as a parameter, and we're gonna use dispatching this add to do. We are extend, yeah, we have used add to do. Okay, we don't need add to do dot reducer, we need add to do dot action. So in here I'm going to check that which one, yeah, we need this one. So yeah, we have got this add to do dot action. So in here I'm going to call this to do. Now if we just going to call in here, so now what we get in the class that we have changed this dispatch to a props, and the props name is add to do, and the thing that we're gonna send is this dot state dot to do. So I'm going to save it. Now it's time for seeing this in action. Now back to your React app and just seeing that it happens or not. Okay, just go to your console, because in here you're gonna see in here in action. That's why we have used this logger one. So like we're gonna use it. Okay, just type in here. As you can see in here that we got an action. So this is what we are seeing is not because of React Redux. This is because of we have used the middleware called logger. So it's logging out all the actions, all the payload that we have given. So in here you can see that we have called a payload payload that we have given in here, and the type add to do. So this is basically seeing which action that you have called, and in here you can see that we have added one this to do's. Now if you see again, we can call again and again, and it will be stored inside it. So we have cross, like we have do one thing that we have made redux, we have made the action, we have made reducer, we have also made the store, And we have also send one action, we have dispatch one action. Now let's see how can we use this map state to props that we have used. So now you can see how we can use map state to props, that which component that we need map state to props. So in the next videos I'm going to create new folders such as to-dos list and to-dos, so that the to-dos will be in here. Hi guys, in this video we're gonna render our to-dos list below the input field. So first of all, I'm going to create a new uh, JS file. Let's say to-dos list. So in here, basically to-dos list is basically a list of to-dos component. So in here, in app.js, I'm going to render it. So in here, I'm going to use to-dos list, which I haven't made right now, but we are gonna make it. So in here I'm going to import React from React, and in here I'm going to use const, maybe, yeah, that's what we need only. Maybe I'm going to use the functional component. We will see that if it is required to convert into a class component or not. So in here I'm going to return it some JSX code. So first of all, I'm going to just export default to-dos list, right? Now in here, I'm just going to save it, and in app.js, it's going to be get imported, and we have successfully imported or not. Yeah, we have imported it. Now in here, basically, we haven't rendered something. That's why it's giving an error. But if you render something, it will not give an error. So basically I'm going to give it right now to those list. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's it. Now in here, as you can see, that if I just open this console and if I type in something, we got all the to-dos. We get the to-dos that we are typing in here. If we type in again, we got an array of to-dos. Yeah, this is the thing that we're gonna render below this input field. So now in our to-dos list, we again gonna use this connect, and by using connect, we're gonna connect this action and reducer JS file that we have used, so that whenever you use any action, it will change the reducer, and whenever we need some state or any store, we can get it from which we are gonna use map state to props, that what I have discussed in previous video. So basically in here I have used this map state to props such that any state, the state it's for now this to-dos, it's going to convert it into props. What I have said, just going to deliver it here. So I have used this state, we got this state from to-dos. So this is the state, as you can see in here, this is the state. Now in state we have to-dos, so we need to-dos, right? So we get state dot to-dos, and yeah, that's it. We get the to-dos, and now what happens, that this state is converted into props for this component. So now we can basically get from props, but I'm going to restructuring this to-dos. So we can just type in to-dos in here, and in here I'm going to render it. So if I just type in here like this and use this div tag I'm going to close it, and using the curly braces so such that we can type some JSX code. To-dos dot map, as you know, this is a, what you can say, it's a array, so it will be an array, and we're gonna give each component a key. So this is how we can see in here, and for now I'm going to just give him this to do. We get the name of it. Now if we just save it, so good, yeah, it's correct. Oh, we haven't closed it, right? Now it's good. Yeah. Now in here, if I just type in here something, you will see we got this text that we have typed in. And if I type in again, we got another one, we got another one, we got another one. So this is what we're gonna build it here. Yeah, you can see, but we need more functionality that it does. So that's why I'm going to create this to-dos list to do more than one thing, to only rendering things. So that's why I'm going to create one new file called to-dos. Hi guys, so let's start where we have left off. So we're gonna create a new component in here. In our components, I'm going to create a new file called to-dos, or just a to-do.js. Now in here I'm going to use import react. Yeah, what's happening? Yeah, so in here import react from react. Now again I'm going to use this as a functional component, and in here what we need, we got a to do. We haven't get it, but we're gonna get it from to-dos list, and we're gonna return some JSX code. For now I'm going to just use it a div tag, and inside the div tag just going to say this to do, and I'm going to export it. So export default to do, and in here I'm going to save it. Yeah, I'm going to save it, and in here we are going to give this to do that we have made a component is props. Now I'm going to save it. As we see that we got the same result that we have seen previous, but why we have made this type of things changes? Because in here many things that we have to do, like that I have said in here in our actual project to do, that we have to use this x1 to delete something, to edit some part. So that's why I have made a new component for this one. So let's get started with this part. Now in here what we need, in here we're gonna use it as a flex direction row. So going to styling some part. So first of all in here I'm going to styling, and going to give a styling of display flex. I'm going to give flex direction to be row, column, so that it will be aligned as a column. And going to give, yeah, this is the only thing that we need. Yeah, so now introduce what we need. Introduce, we need the same thing, but we need display to be the flex, and flex direction to be row. and justify content to be space between. Now this is what we need. Now in here I'm going to create a new div again, and inside this div I'm going to give it the props that we have made, and again I'm going to create a new div, and inside this div I'm going to give this x that you have seen. Now I'm just going to save it and just checking in here. Okay, it got something, but it's not look styling, but that's all. And in here what we need again, okay, so we can do one more thing, like we can give border in here, border to be 1 pixel solid, solid, and giving the same color. Okay, what's happened? uh okay, now, yeah, and giving some padding also, padding to be 5 pixel maybe. And now it's okay. Okay, good. Now that's it, or that's it what we need for now. And also whenever you enter this should be got all eliminated, right? So it will get all cleared out. So for this one, what we need in here, that whenever we this dot handle submit, this dot set state to be to be what, to be this. Now if we just save it and go to our code, and if we just type in, okay, happen. mm, it's not changing. Okay, okay, oh yeah, so we have to give in here value also. So if we just gave it here value, this dot state dot to do, now if we just save it and if we just do it again, it will change. You can see that it will be changed. And one thing with we have to do, we have to delete all the particular keys that we are sending in here. So for this one, what we have to do in our to do, that whenever we click on this one, we have to fire some action. So we haven't made it. Okay, so in our to do dot action, I'm going to create a new and say going to create a new export const delete to do. I'm going to send the key, right? So that's the key through which we're gonna delete it. And the type the same is, so that in the reducer you can check for which action that you wanna send. And this is the payload that you're gonna use, the key part. And in here our action, okay, in our add to do dot reducer we need the action part. So in here our case will be delete to do, and I'm going to return something, return dot state and to do's. And in here I'm going to filter out the data that we need. To state to do's dot filter, as you know, that's what I'm going to use, and to do, and giving the I as a index. And in here I'm going to check for I is not equal to action dot payload. This is what we need. And now the second thing with what we need, we're gonna give some action, we're gonna create action, right? So therefore that part we need this connect keyword, and we have imported it. And in here the first part is to be null because we're not needing any state, we need to dispatch action, so that's why we need map dispatch to props. We can write any name that you want, but this is a conventional way to write some name. You want to type in any name that you want, there's no problem for that. So I'm going to use map dispatch to props and going to use dispatch. Now in here what we need delete to do, you can also give any name that you want in here, but after that the function that you're gonna call is to be the same. So what we need, we're gonna send the key, right? So we're gonna dispatch, this delete to do, we get from delete to do dot action, so yeah. And now in here key, now the key that we want to get is here, so we have to send the key as a props too. So in our to-dos list I'm going to send this idx to be as a key. And if you got some warning in here, so because this is to be a to check the react that we are sending, no, we are not sending some duplicate, so this is a key equal to I. Now I'm just going to save it, and in here we got idx, we got delete to do as a prop, as an action to be a prop. Now I'm going to call it from here and going to call it delete to do and the idx. Just save it. And you have to write in something. Just type in here. And if I just click on this one, it will be deleted. Also going to give this one as a styling to be cursor to be pointer, so that it will be visible that what we have done. So yeah, so that's it. If I just type in here again and again, you can see if I just delete on it, yeah, you can see it is been deleted. Hi guys, in this video we're gonna see how can we edit some text. Like whenever we just click on this part, we can see that the same text will be reflected back to this input field, and we can edit that part. So go to your to-do.js. So in here, in our cursor dot, I'm going to just use cursor dot pointer in here. And now what we need, whenever we click on it, it will be reflected into this part. So yeah, so go to your add2.action. I'm going to create a new action, and in here I am going to change it to edit to do and to be a key, because we are sending the key, we are sending the index actually. So type to be edit to do, and payload I'm going to give the key. Okay, now this is what we need. And our in here what we need, we're gonna use a new case that we are going to create. This is the edit to do case. Now in here I'm going to use return dot state. So not what we need the text, right? So, and this text to be needed from, like, we need this text many places. Okay, just yeah, the text that we need in here, and also in here. So that's why we are using as it's a globally. Now in here the text that we need is state dot to do's and state to do's and the action dot payload that we are giving. Now that's all what we need, but in our input field you have to change like the way that we are changing the text handle change and handle submit. Handle submit is good, but handle change to be changed, that we don't need this state. Now we need this text, we need this text that we have made in here. So there is no way around, so we are changing it. So go to your to do.action. We are going to create a new action again. We are going to create export const add text, and the value that we are going to give it the same as event.target.value, and its type you can give add text and payload to be value. Now go to your attribute reducer. Now in here the case that we need is add text, and we're gonna use return and state and the text that we're gonna use. So action dot payload, we have made this far. Now in here we're gonna dispatch new action called add text, and we are giving the value, and we're gonna dispatch add text, and in here the value. And also we need this map state to props, okay, so that we can get the value of the text. Map state to props state and the value that we get, so text, and in here state dot text. Yeah, that's all what we need. Now in here we don't need this part, we need not this part. Now what we need in here, this dot props dot add text e dot target dot value. That's what we need. We also not need this, we need this dot props dot text. We also not need this part because we are going to change it in the reducer part, and we also not need this part. We need this dot props text. Yeah, that's basically what we have to do. Now again in here to do, we're gonna set to nothing, so that's why we need this one. So now if we just save it all the files, and just yeah, now if we just use it here working the same way, if we delete some part it's going to work in the same way. Now only one thing to do, that this part to be reflected into this and to be editable. Now go to your this edit to do, we have done this part. Now just to use the action that we're gonna create in our todo.js. Yeah, now what we need this edit to do, and we are going to send the key also. So dispatch edit, okay, we have used it, yeah, edit to do and the key. And in here in the props we get this edit to do, and whenever we click on this it's going to dispatch this props, means this patch, this action. So edit to do this key. Now just save it. Okay, not it's not a key, it's a index that we have passed in as a props. Now if we just save it, we can see that it's working. But as you can see that if we just save it, it's not editable at the same place. It's actually editing, means it's actually rendering again. It's actually pushing the text again and again. Okay guys, let's start where we have left off. So whenever we click on it, we have to save in the same place. So for doing this, we need to create a new store, new value. Let's say selected. Like whenever you select some part, then it's going to give some another, like it's called if else, you can say. Yeah. So in here, if you edit, like whenever you click on it, this selected will be changed uh, to the value of this index. So we are using this action.payload. Why we are using it? That's because in our input field we are going to use this selected one. Like in here, whenever we submit, we are going to check for this dot props dot selected. We haven't get from the map itself props, so we are going to use it. So selected state dot selected. So we got this dot props dot selected, but we are going to use if this dot props dot selected to be any value. So it's going to pop up another. It's going to fire another action. That's not what I'm going to use. So let's create a new action. Yeah. So in here I'm going to give name export cons edit add to do. Like it's going to fire the editable part. So in here what we need the action.payload. Okay, we need, yeah, we need only one part. We need this payload, means we need the text value. Yeah, so the value we need, and I'm going to use a type. Okay, edit add do, and the payload to be value. That's understandable. Now go to your reducer. In our reducer, in our we are going to create a new case. Now edit add to do, we are going to return state again, but now we are going to use this to do's again. State dot to do's dot map to do and I for the index part. And what we need is that if I is not, if I is not equal to uh, what selected. Okay, so this is also we need from state dot selected, and we're gonna change to the same part, that is to do, or else we need action.payload that we are getting. So you can understand what I have written in here, that if I is not equal to state.selected, then we need the same to do that we have had. Now if it is equal to, like it's false, then we need the action.payload. Okay, that you understand. Now just going to save it, but we also need a select to be undefined because we don't need to be going else. But if we use select to be undefined in here, so state.selected is going to be get to be false, to be undefined. So what we need in our attribute action, we don't need only value, we need also the selected part. Okay, now in our attribute reducer, we are gonna need, okay, we have to give it like this. It's an object, yeah, it's an object. So just send it as an object, so just send in an object. So obj, what's in obj we don't know for now, but I assure you that we need action.payload dot value, and in here action dot payload dot selected. That's what we're gonna give it to it. And also going to change this selected to be undefined. Yeah, that's all what we need. Now go to your where input tools, input field. Now in here we need another dispatch, we need edit, add to do, and going to give an object and dispatch, edit, add to do, object. We haven't imported it. Yeah, it's going to import. Yeah. Now in here, if this dot props are selected, or if this dot props dot selected equal to 0, because it's not going to check for this part. Yeah, that's because. Now let's see what we can do in here. I'm going to use this dot props dot edit add to do. Okay, edit add to do, and we are giving payload. So the first payload is value. Okay, so value to be same as this dot props dot text, and second one is the selected one. So this dot props dot selected. Now if we just going to save it now, yeah, that's all what we need in here. Okay, let's see that it's working or not. Now if we just click on it and just going to check it, yeah, it's working. Oh yeah, it's working. Okay, some new things also we have to add, like it's going to clear out all the things in here. So in here what we can do, we can add what we can add text to be, okay, Yeah, this is what we need. Now if yeah, that's all what we need. Now just check it here, it's working or not. Okay, it's deleting. Now if you just change it to something else, it's working now. Now one thing we can do more thing that whenever you type in here and whenever you click on this and you just going to edit here, and you can see the same thing happening in here also. So for doing this, what we can do, go to your to-do.js, and we're gonna use this text part. Okay, we haven't used map state to props in here, so I'm going to use map state to props again, and going to a const map state to props, and also going to use state. And yeah, in here we're gonna use the text that we're gonna get. So what we have, I have used to do okay, so I can use in here. So state dot text. Now also we need one more thing, we need the selected part. So in here selected to be state dot selected. Now in here state dot selected we have gotten. So selected we get the text. Now we are just going to give the hello operator part that we have used in here. So let's see how can we do this. So if selected is false, as you can say, then no, we cannot use like this. Okay, if selected is here, and if selected is equal to 0, and it's going to show, we can't use this part also. Okay, just use it selected. Okay, just use selected, then you can say it's a text, or else you do. Yeah, that's all what we need. Now let's just see in action. Now if you just type in here and just click on it, oh my, what's happened? This is not what we need. Okay, so what's the, okay, yeah, if selected is equal to the idx, right? So that's when it's gonna work. Yeah, you can see that it's going to work in here. Now if you just edit some part, as you can see the same thing happening in here. If you just use in here, it's going to happening in the same place. So yeah, we are halfway. Yeah, we are more than halfway, you can say. So all the things are done. The listen part also working. Now we just have to add a delete all part and do some overflowing action in here. Hi guys, we are now at the end of this to-dos app. Now let's create a button so that we can delete all the to-dos app. So in here I'm going to use a div tag, and inside the div tag I'm going to create a button, and button to be given just a button. Yeah, just a button, and the button name is delete all. And just going to save it. Okay, now just going to give some styling too. So I have also used style.css. So in style.css, just going to give the button some styling. So the styling that you can give, background to be same as content box you can give. Okay, so we have to change the color of it, and the same favorite color of mine, going to give white, but not full white. Now this is the color that I want to give. Okay, there's one problem happening. Yeah, that's what we need. Now one more thing that I have to do, that border to be none, border to be none. Now this is done, but we have to use something about this overflowing, means the list will goes on, so we have to do some about overflowing of it. So in our, you can say to-dos list, yeah, in our to-dos list, I'm going to fix the size of it. I'm going to give the size of it 300 pixel maybe, and also going to overflow. Okay, so means it's more than enough. So overflow, I'm going to give overflow y to be give scroll or auto, yeah, auto you can give, and overflow x to be hidden. Okay, but we have to small it, yeah. Okay, this looks good maybe. Yeah, okay, just type in here something. Yeah, this is more than enough. Okay, just look into it. Yeah, now it's overflowing as you can see in here. Now we can just delete all as you expect. Now what we need, one more thing that we need whenever we click on it, that's to be do some action, right? So go to your where go to your app.js. So giving some styling to be given margin top. First of all, give margin top to be 20 pixel, and cursor to be pointer. Now this is what we need in here. As you can see, we got the delete all. Now what we need again, I'm going to create a new action such that all the data will be deleted, all the list will be deleted. So export const delete all, as the name suggests. So we don't need anything, we don't need any parameter for this one. Just use delete all and just all. Yeah, that's it. That's what we need in here. Go to your to-do.reducer, and the case that we need in here, delete all, and I'm going to return simply the state but without the state. That's, you can say, yeah, this is what we need in here. Now if you just save it and let's come on, yeah, in here if I just type in something, typing in, now if we just click on this delete all, oh wow, it's not working because I haven't added the action button, right? So just go to your this part and going to remove this part and going to convert this into ES6 functionality const app, and going to use arrow function. Now in here we need export default, just as the way that we need. So export default, we need this connect, and inside the connect we need first of all this null, because we don't need any state, we need action prop. Now in here I'm just going to use const map dispatch to props dispatch, and in here I'm going to fire an action. The action name is delete all, and yeah, so this is it, dispatching the action name is delete all. Now in here I'm just going to use the props. So in here we need this delete all, and going to use in here on click delete all. I'll just save it, and there is some problem in here. Okay, so it hasn't been imported disconnect. Okay, just import it. We have imported. Now if we just click on a delete all, okay, delete all is not a function. Why so? It should be a function. There is an error in here. Okay, okay, just type in here. Now if we just click on it, okay, so this is how we can use it. Like we haven't have a parameter in here, so we can use it like this. So just use it as a props. So now if we just click on it, it will be deleted. Oh, it will remain in here. Okay, so go to your add to do. Okay, go to your reducer, and if there is some text in here, just use it like this. Now I'm going to use it here, the local storage that I have talked about the persistence of the data. So how can we use it? Now first of all we need in here, we need in add to do, because whenever we add the list to be in here, and we also need at the delete to do, and also in edit add to do. So these three places we need, and also in the delete all also. So let's see how can we do this. Now in window, I'm going to use it here also. I'm going to use in here. So window, we can get from window dot local storage dot set item, and I'm going to use to do's do. Okay, I haven't talked about what this local storage means. So just go to your console. If you are in your console, just go to your console and just type in local storage. Local storage, you can see in here that I have got some storage in here, that this is the previous made storage that here you can see in here. So the same thing that we are using in here. So back to your code, and I have used this window this type of thing. So in here I'm going to use it, and what we're gonna use, we're gonna create a const reduce to, and just going to use it here. Now just save it, and it's an object, it's an array. So what we have to do, we have to convert into a JSON object. So it will be placed inside this window.local storage. So whenever we got from local storage, we have to convert this JSON format into an object format. So back to our code. In here, I'm going to save it as a to-dos 2 in here. And in here, we can see to-dos 2 like this. So basically this how we can save our items in our windows.local storage. We will see in the next video all the local storage that we need. So first of all, we're gonna see in here. I'm going to just saving in here. This is all going to save. Now if I just refresh it back, uh, okay, we haven't used the persistence one. Okay, we will see that later. Oh no, we will see it right now. Yeah. Okay, so in our add to do reducer, what we need, like whenever we call app.js, whenever we mount this project into our browser, it will call this component did mount that we're going to use. Okay, so I'm going to use hooks that we haven't talked about, and it will be the next series of the React course, and I'm going to just give you a taste of it. So this use effect is same as it it can be used as many life cycles of React. So in here I'm going to use this use effect as a component did mount. So let's see how can we do this. So it's a use effect, this is a side effect you can say, and it's going to call this function that anything that we're gonna write in here. Okay, and I'm going to give this dependency is to be an array, empty array, so that it will be called only one time. So basically this means that it will be called, it is dependent on an empty array. So this is a component mount. Now in here in our action, I'm going to create a new persist one, export const persist to do. We don't need any payload in here. Now type, you can give anything that you want. I'm going to give persist to do. To do is basically you can say. Okay. Now just going to save it and go to your reducer part, and in here giving the type name, we got this, and now we're gonna use it here. So we're gonna return some to do's in here. So dot state, and to do's we're gonna fill it up with something that we haven't got it from the window.local storage. So we can get it from window.local storage dot get item, and the key that we're gonna provide, this is what we need, the key that we're gonna provide, and the set item is same as the key that we're gonna provide and the value that we're gonna provide. So the key in here is reduce to, and it's going to be parse, it's going to convert JSON into an object, and going to save is to do's, and in here I'm going to use it. to do's, but it can be to do's can be a null value. So for checking purpose, if to do's is not null, we're gonna use this to do's, or else we're gonna provide this empty array. This is what we have written in here. Okay, now just save it. Go to your we don't need in here. We go to your app.js, and in here I'm going to call a new to do, persist to do an action. I'm going to dispatch it, persist to do's. Now in here I'm going to call it uh, we can use it here because this is act as a props, so we can basically use it like this. So persist to do's. Now that's it, that's what we need. Yeah, just save it. Yeah, we got this one. As you can see that if I just browse it again, if I just refresh it again, it will be stored in here. So we can see that we have done the first part, or initialization part. How can we initialize? And now in the next video it will be last, we're gonna use refactoring our code, so it's just that all the class component will be converted into functional component. Also, there's one problem that whenever you delete some part of it, and if you just browse refresh it again, it will be reflected back again, so we have to tackle this problem also. Hi guys, this is the last video of this to-dos app. So we're gonna see how can we uh, save or persist the data whenever you delete any list or not. So let's begin with delete to do. So in here what we need const to do 3, and I'm going to just copy it from here and use it here, and in here we are gonna use to do 3 in here. And also we don't have to write the same code again this part, like, so what we can do, we can just create a new function in here, set persist you can say. So given to it, you can give the to do 3 as a param. Now we haven't created it, so I'm just going to create in here. So just use count set to do, and giving the to do and returning back, or just send yeah, just use it here. So just copy this part and just paste in here. Now in here we don't need to do, we don't need. Okay, so to do's we can change this params to do it to do's. Now that's it, that's what we need in here. Now in here, okay, set persist, what I have said, okay, set persist. So just change the name of it, set persist. Now yeah, that's all what we need in here. So this is done, this is done. Now edit to do, we don't need to have anything in here, we need in here. So const do 4, I'm just going to copy it from here and just going to paste in here, and also using the set persist and just giving the to do 4 in here. and also in here. This is done, and also the same thing you have to do in here. So in here set persist to be a null, empty array. Yeah, that's all what we need in here. So just check it here that it's working or not. Okay, just refresh it again. It's working. Okay, now let's check this one. Yeah, it's working. Now only one thing is to do, the edit part. So if we just use it like this, and if we just refresh it again, yeah, it's working. Yeah, whole thing's working. Now all the things has been done. Now one thing to be do is to refactor our code. Like we have used some code that we don't have to use it like this. So refactoring code is very needed in every branch of testing purpose. Also we need this one. So let's see where we need. Okay, we don't need this anything in here. Maybe in input field we need this. Yeah, so we're gonna convert this class component into, you can say, functional component. So how can we do this? So I'm just going to convert you remove this const using const. We don't need this extend now, extend keyword. We just need this part, and we don't need this one. We only need return. And yeah, just remove this part. And also in here we don't need this keyword, because this only we used in the class component, and we are gonna convert this one to be a const, as we have learned this part in the previous video, that for the functional component we can write, if you're gonna write our own component, our own methods, you can write it like this. And we can also use some destructuring also that we have seen in the previous video. So what are the destruction that we need in here? We can use add text, we can use text, we can use selected, and that's all what we need maybe. So just remove this part, we don't need this part, we don't need this part also, and we also not need this part. Just removing it. And we also not need this part. It's a whole bunch of things that we have to remove, right? So this, so it will make our code less, like if you know how to do this. So we also don't need this part. Oh, we have to add this dot add to do, right? So I'm going to add it here, just using it add to do. Now this is done. We don't need this part, we also don't need this part also. Yeah, now this is done, all things working good. Now there is one more thing that you can do, right? I haven't talked it about like right now, but I am going to uh, I'm going to tell that if you are destructuring here also you can use. So basically state have this text and selected, right? So you can just destructure these things, text and selected. So we don't need any of it. We can just remove this part and use it like this. It looks much cleaner, right? It looks good, and it will work the same way that you can see. Now in our app.js, if we see the same thing is happening, no, the same thing is not happening in here. Input field is means fully done. Now in to-dos list, the same thing you can do in here also. You can just destructure these parts and convert this into this, and we don't need this one also. Now in here, this is the only thing that we need to convert. In to-do.js, maybe many things to be done. No, here also we don't need this. Okay, so in here also we can just destructure this text and selected, and remove these parts also. So you can just find out which are the things that are not needed, so that we can see that how the code can be reduced too much. Now in our action, you can see there are many things that to be done. Like in here, there's nothing to be done, but in our add tutorial action, you can also use it like this. No, we have made okay, okay. So this is the whole part that we need. Oh my, where is the input field? I can't see input. Yeah, we have input field, right? Now this will work the same way that you have seen. If we just refresh it again, it will work the same way. If we delete it, it will work the same way. Yeah, that's all. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome to the course. So in here we're gonna do one hands-on on this Redux, and also see how can we handle asynchronous process. So basically asynchronous means whenever you fetch some data from a server, so basically it's a asynchronous. And as we know that Redux is synchronous, so we have a way of a middleware, so we can use a middleware for asynchronous purpose. So first of all, we're gonna see in our this project, this Insta app that we have built previously in our React router series. So I have just forked it, and I have given the link into the description, so you can just clone it into your re- command prompt and just use it, and just start coding now. So what we need, first of all, what are the things that we're gonna change in here in this project? First of all, we're gonna change this login functionality using Redux, and also we're gonna fetch data of feeds and suggestions that we can see in here. If we just log in here, you can see these are the suggestions and feeds are here. So we're gonna fetch these all things using Redux. So I'm going to log out from here, and we're gonna start using it. Now what are we needing in here? So libraries that we need in here are Redux, first of all. So we can write Redux code in here. And also what we need React Redux, so that we have a breeze between React and Redux code. Now we have imported two libraries now, and we're gonna start building in here. So in here, first of all, we're gonna create a new directory called Redux. Inside Redux, we're gonna create a two new folder called action. In here, we're gonna write actions, and we're gonna also create a new directory called reducer. In here we're gonna write reducer logic. In here we're gonna create a store.js file, from where we're gonna create, or we have the all states that what we need in here we're gonna create in here. So let's start. What we gonna import in our store, we are not haven't create any actions, we haven't create reducer, but for in here we're gonna just write in what we need in here. We need create a store for creating the store. We need apply middleware for applying some middleware that we want. And we also need one new, you can say, combine reducer. So as the name suggests that we can combine many reducers into one. So what it will do, it will combine all the reducer that we are gonna build and combine into one. We will see what we write in code. So we haven't created anything, so let's start by creating in here. So we're gonna change this login functionality, right? And what we have said in login, that whenever you click on login, we're just gonna give a boolean value into it. So just create a new action. So in here I'm going to create a new file called login.action.js. And in our action.js, we're gonna create export const login. We have a payload, and we're gonna use the type that we're gonna give. And I'm gonna give the login as the name suggests. And the payload. So I'm going to just refactoring the code, right? We don't have to write like this payload again and again. So this is one way. This is the better way, you can say. So now in our reducer, I'm going to create a new file called login.reducer.js. And in here we're gonna create a new const init. In here I'm going to give is login to be first of all false. Now let's start building one reducer in here, and the name that I'm gonna give is login reducer. And we are giving an state, and the default state will be init, and also passing the action that we are sending in here, and it will be given in a switch case. And in the switch case we have given xSwitch.types, so that it will check for the type that you have give. And our first action is login. Basically it will be only login in here, of course. So in here return, what we're gonna return, we're gonna first spread the values inside the state, and just give the value of is login to be action dot payload that we're gonna send from the action part. Now it will be having a default, default one is the return state. Now this is what we have built. Our login register has been built. Our login action has been built. Now go to your store, and we're gonna write how can we create a reducer, or how we can we're gonna use this combined reducer. So basically how we can use, we're gonna create a new root reducer, you can say. So it will have all the reducers information, you can say. So combined reducer, it will take an object, and inside this object I'm going to give the name is login, or just give login, and the reducer name that we have used. So in here we can see that I have imported this login reducer and assigned to this login. So we are passing one object in here. So what we're gonna use, whenever you create a new reducer, you're gonna create one new key value pairs of that login reducer and a key. Now what we need next is export const store, and we're gonna create a store, and we're gonna just pass this root reducer in here. And basically this is what we need. We haven't used this apply middleware. For applying middleware we need uh because we are applying some middleware, right? So there are many middlewares that we can know. There is one Redux logger, there is another actually there are two another that we are going to use for asynchronous purpose. So right now I'm going to just use this Redux logger in here, and you can use apply middleware, and you can just pass the logger in here. But I'm just going to give this middleware, assign this middleware, and passing to as a, okay, we haven't used it yet, as a array. So import logger from Redux logger. Now just type in here logger, and in here what we're gonna do, we're gonna just spread the um, middleware in here. So spreading the value inside this apply middleware. You can simply write in here logger 2, but if we're gonna use more logger, we're gonna use more middleware in here, so we can just use this middleware in here. We can assign into an array. So this is complete. I'm going to just save these files in here and go to my code. In our my code, you can see in our index.js what we need provider, right? So if I just write provider, we get provider, yeah, we got provider, and we got provider from React Redux. So we're gonna just wrap this up with provider, and we're gonna send the store values inside this store. So we have passed it, we haven't imported it, so I'm going to import it right now. Let's import it. Okay, we're gonna see, simply write in here. So where do we got in this store? We got store from redux slash store.js, right? We have imported, right? Yeah. So this is what we need, and just save it. And now in our code, we're gonna see into action. So go to your pages.js. There is one problem in here. And go to your login.reducer. Is there any problem here? Right, there is a problem. Oh, this is not the right syntax. This is the right syntax. Yeah, now this is good. Now go to your login.js. So we have built our this login.js. We have built all the things. So hi guys, let's start where we have left off. So in here, in our login.js, we're gonna change our code. And first of all, what we need this connect keyword, and connect is a higher order component, you can say. So in here, this connect, we haven't imported it, right? So I'm just going to use it here. Import connect from React Redux that we get, and we're gonna use it here. And in here, connect has two argument. First argument is map state to props for getting the data from the store, which we don't need. We need map dispatch to props. What it will do, it will dispatch an event. Okay, so it will dispatch an event and it will change it to the props. So go in here, map dispatch to props. In here it got an argument called dispatch, which is basically a function which takes a parameter as a function, and I'm to give the login as a key, and which got a parameter is login, and I'm going to dispatch the event, and login is the name of the action that we have created in the login.action, and is login that we given in the parameter. Now in here, what we are going to change in here. We don't need this part. We need this dot props because we have changed this is dispatch to the props, as you can see in here. Now in here login, we are going to give this as a true boolean. Now in here I'm going to save it. Now back to your app.js, you can see that we got this state is log. This is basically the true and false data that we are gonna send. So we have data, right? We have data in the map state to props. So we are going to use connect keyword again in here. We cannot get connect, so I'm just going to import it here again. Import connect from React Redux. So in here, so what's basically is, because if you use map state to props in here, you can change this class component to the function component, right? And you can see, if I just write in here code again, map state to props. Now in our map state to props, we get data, right? We get the state. And what I'm going to use this structuring, because in our login dot reducer, not in our store.js, we got this store, right? So in our store, as you can see in here, you can see that we got login, right? So this is the state, as you can see, this is the state. So by using this structuring in our app.js, we got login first of all, and inside that login we got this is login, right? Now what we can do, just use it is login. So I'm using more refactoring code, right? Yeah, yep. So I'm just going to remove this whole part that we don't need in here, because we're gonna write functional component as I have said. So just use const app and use the ES6 syntax of the function, and I'm going to use this return one, right? And in returning, I'm just going to return in here, and we also don't need this part. This is all the error, right? Syntax error. Now I'm just going to pass as a props. As you can see, we are passing is login. Now in here we need this is login one. Yeah, now we have passed this as a function, so we just can remove in here. Now in our home we have this part, right? So go to your home, we don't need this, because we are going to use dispatching an event using dispatch event, as you can see. So we also don't need this part, just remove it. And this is basically seeing like we have an event to call in our header. So go to your header.js, and yeah, as you can see in here, there's an event to be called. So yeah, same thing that we have done in our login, same thing that we're gonna do in here. Again, we cannot import, intelligence is not better in here. So just use React Redux again and use the connect in here. And when we are using connect, you can get, so now the wrapping part is that we can wrap this whole with router. But now first argument will be null, because we don't need any information, we don't need any data. So I'm just going to use map dispatch to props. So map dispatch to props, and we need, okay, we need dispatch, right? So we are going to use dispatch, and in here I'm just going to use login as the name suggests. Now the argument that we're gonna pass is login, and again, as I have said, dispatch is an function. It's a function which takes a function as an argument. So the function that we're gonna use login action, and we're gonna pass is login. So yeah, that's it in this file. Now login we got in here. Don't need this. It's like this. We just have to use login and login to be false, right? So now the whole thing of the login functionality is done. So just check in the UI that it's working correctly or not. Yeah, it's working now. Just yeah, now it's working. Now one thing that I'm just going to show in this video is that now in the next video we're gonna see how can we fetch data, right? So what are the libraries that we need in here? So this can be done using a library called Redux Thunk. So Redux Thunk is used for the asynchronous process that you're gonna use in your project. So I have used Redux Thunk. I have imported in here. So if you are using your npm, so use this npm redux npm I redux thunk. So through this you can download install it. Now actually Redux Thunk is used as a middleware. As I have said that middleware is a very important part for a Redux. Middleware used for logging purposes, used for asynchronous purposes. So in here I'm going to import it. So we're gonna use import thunk. You can check in the documentation of this Redux Thunk how it uses. But in the next video I'm going to truly show that how can we use in our code. So I'm going to use middleware as a passing in here. So that's all what we need. We have set up the thunk in our project. Hi guys, in this video we're gonna see how can we handle asynchronous handling, state management. So in here, as we have used this middleware Redux Thunk into our store.js in here as a middleware. So we're gonna see in code how can we use this thunk middleware in here. So basically the thunk we are gonna use for handling asynchronous process like fetching data from another server. So in this project in our Insta app, we have this fetch.js which have this fetching the data from this link, and also in the suggestions we have this link for fetching users data. So actually asynchronous process, why it is called asynchronous process, because it will not happen at the same time point of time. So that's why it will take time to happen or get some response from a server. So for handling this type of process, this thunk middleware comes. We can also try without using any other middleware, we can use ourselves, but actually the process is to handle using thunk. So let's try this. So in our redux in action we're gonna create a new file, and the name of the file will be fetch. You can give any name that you want. Now what happens that whenever you fetch something from a server, it may be actually success, we will get the data, but sometime we got like we will not get the data. So at that point of time we have to make cases for that part. Like if you fail, you will not get the data, and if you got success, you will get the data. So first of all it will start fetching. So we're gonna create a fetching part first, like fetch start. Now in our fetch start, what we got only a type that you can say. We are not sending anything in here, so it's the starting point. You can say that our fetch will start fetching. Now if we got success, like we got some data, so what happens that fetch fits success will be dispatched with the action. Now the data we will get is a payload, and we'll again have a type that we're gonna see in our reducer, right? So that's why we're gonna also create a type of it and use the payload name in here. Now, if our data is not fetched, it means that we got fetch fits uh, failure. So if it's the case that we will not get the data, we will get an error, and the error will have a type of this, and it will go to the reducer. It will have some logic in there that we're gonna write in there. So this also have its type or fetch fits failure, and we will get the error in here. So I can write payload, and we got this error. Now this part's done, but how we're gonna dispatch the action in here. So actually when you're gonna click, or when you're gonna fetch any data, or you're gonna write in our fits.js the dispatch action in here, for that part you have to call any function that you want to call in here. So for now I am giving the name is fetch fits async because it's an asynchronous process. So we're gonna write like this. Now in here what happens that it is a function, but what happens that it returns a function again that we have talked about, right? Like we have seen our in our where you can say in our login.js, we have seen this type of things like we got this dispatch as an argument in here, which tags as a parameter of a function. Now what happens in here that this fetch fits async will return a function, you know, it returns a function which again will call the function. So it's basically very like very highway to tell what I'm telling here. So just search in the Stack Overflow, you will get the overview of this higher order function. You can type in the browser and you can search for it. Now in here we're gonna write all the logic that we're gonna see in here. Okay, so what happened that we got this dispatch. Now in here we're gonna dispatch this all fetch fetch start, and if you got success we're gonna fetch fetch success, or failure if you didn't get the data. So first of all we're gonna dispatch with a start, right? We're gonna start our fetching. So that's why we're gonna write like this, fetch fetch start. Now again, I'm going to fetch like async await promise. Now for that you have to write here async, so such that we can use async await syntax in here. Now in here I'm just gonna copy this line of code because this is what we need in here. So I'm just going to copy it in here and just pasting in here. Now what happens that we got the data, right? In here you can see that okay, we have used in a fetch. Okay, okay, just use the fetch. Okay, yeah. Now what happens again, we got the data by using await response.json, right? We got the data. Now we got the data. Now it means that we have a success. We can dispatch this function, right? So for that purpose we can write in here dispatch fetch fits success. happening? Okay, the spelling is wrong in here. So just I'm going to correct it. Now if we just uh, pass the parameter that is data. Now if we didn't get the data, it means we got the failure, right? So for that purpose, what we're gonna do, we're gonna run fetch fits failure and e dot message, the message that we're gonna pass. So this is all about the action that we're gonna build for the asynchronous process, right? Now this is the part of action, but we haven't talked about the reducer part, right? So in here I'm going to create a new file again, and the file name is fetch fits reducer, right? And in here, what are the init state, means what are the state that we're gonna use here. The first state will be the data, and it will be first of all null. And we got also error, because if there is an error, then the payload will be here. And also we got this loading, right? Because it will not load at the same time. At first it will be false because we haven't started dispatching these actions in here. So let's write in here and you will understand what I'm talking about in here. So export const fetch fits reducer, you can type in here, and the state that we're gonna use and the action that we're gonna use. And again we're gonna use this switch case for switching the type that we're gonna see in here. Now in here the type that we're gonna see is fetch case, all are in capital, right? So fetch fits start. Now first of all, what happens in here in our fetch fits start is that we're gonna start fetching the data. So it means like loading is to be true, right? Because we have started loading to be true. Now I am just going to use default case to be return state. Now in here the cases, again there are two cases that have left. The second case we're gonna see is fetch fit success. Now what happens in success, that we have to return and spread the state in here, and the loading is to be false, right? Because we have fetched the data, so we don't need loading to be true. And again we got the data, right? Because if the success we got the payload. And yeah, that's it. And in here our fetch fits failure, what we got is that, okay, just a sec. Yeah, now in here we're gonna return the state again, but the loading is to be also false because we have got some data from the server, whether it is success or failure, but we got the data. And we got at this time of time we got an error, so we're gonna dispatch the action of it, and we got the payload in here. So now this part is also done, reducer part is also done. Now in our store we have to use, so we have talked about combine reducer, right? That whenever you have to combine, means you have more than one reducer, you can use this function of react for redux. So what we need in here, we need fits, and we have to use fetch fits reducer. So this is done. Now only one thing is to do is to dispatch the action that we're gonna run in here. So again we're gonna use this connect keyword in here. So in our connect, first argument will be will have a data. So first argument to be map stat map state to props, and second argument is to be map dispatch to props such that we can dispatch some action. Now in here I'm going to write first of all map dispatch to props. So we're gonna dispatch some action in here, and we're gonna return an object in the key name that you wanna give, that you gave, like fetch fits, you can say. Now in here you're gonna give the URL, right? Not, we don't have to give the URL in here, so you can give, so such that we don't have to write in here, but I have just given it here, so I don't have to write in here. So I am going to dispatch an action in here. So what we're gonna dispatch in here, so we're gonna dispatch this fetch fits async such that we are going to dispatch these three actions in here. So basically this is what I am doing, and in here first thing is done. Now again we're gonna get the data, so map state to props. We got the data from fits, and in the fits we got this data. I am not using the payload, the loading one and error one, but you can use if you want to. Now in here we got the data, right? We got the data. Now we don't need to do this state also. We need this async first of all. We also don't need this async of course. So we can remove this part also. And in here we're gonna just this dot props dot fetch fits. This is what we're gonna just call in here. And we also don't need this part. Okay, so we can just type in here fits is to data, so this will look good. And in here just we have to type in here the props. And now if we just save it, and if we just type in here, we will see in the action, we will see in the UI that we will get the data in here. You can see in here. And actually there is one more point that I am going to show, that we don't have to check in here that if it's we got the data or not. If it is null, then it will not render this file. And so I'm going to show in here. So I'm just going to remove it, and if we just save it here, and again I'm going to test it, and if I am, yeah, so we got the data. As you can see that we got the data, we don't have to check for fits that it is null or not. So this is how this thunk middleware used in our redux react code. Now one thing also to do, this is the suggestions part, and we are going to do the same thing. And so you can do your own. But hi guys, in this video we're gonna fetch this suggestions API such that you have a handle on this Redux Thunk. How can we code, and what's the boilerplate that you wanna write in your project. So let's begin with that. So in our Redux folder we have this action folder and reducer folder. So in here I'm going to create a new file called fetch suggestions, you can say, because we are fetching the suggestion here. So fetch suggestions dot action dot js. Now in here you're gonna start writing the export const, because we are gonna export first one, and the first one may be fetch suggestion, and it will get started, right? As you know that whenever you fetch something from a server, it will it can be that you will get some data, or maybe you will not get the data, the failure will happen. So initiation, for initiation we are going to typing this name, that fetch suggestion start, and we are gonna give the name, we're gonna give the type of it. You can give any name that you want. So in here the first one is done. Now we are going to do for the same for the success, like whenever you get the data, such that you're gonna create a new function for that. The name of it, you can give any name that you want. I'm going to give the name is fates suggestion success. Now in here what we will get the data, right? So I'm going to just write in the name like payload, and from here we're gonna get the data and which will get return, and the type of it is the fetch suggestions. Okay, fetch suggestion the success. Now we will get the payload, right? Now we have got the payload. Now sometime what happens that you will not get the data, maybe some network error will happen, so such that you have to handle that part also. So for that part we are going to create a new function called fetch suggestion failure. Now in here what we will get an error. You can give the name as payload, but just for clarification I have given that name. Now in here fetch suggestion. Now in our fetch suggestions, the name should be failure in here, and also the payload name is a key in here, and the name is error. Now I have missed out one this symbol. Okay, done. Now we have done all this suggestion, success, and failure. Now what happens that whenever you dispatch action for fetching data from an API, so we're gonna write that logic in here such that these three functions we are gonna call in that function. So what do I mean by that? That I'm going to create a new function, export const fetch suggestion, and fetch suggestion async, you can say, because this is asynchronous process, right? So that's why I'm going to write by like this. So we are not going to pass any params in here, but what it will return a function. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just type in the higher order function such that you will get knowledge the code that I'm going to write. Now what happens that this fetch suggestion async is going to return a function which will take params as a this function. We have written this code in our map state to props, map dispatch to props, sorry, map dispatch to props, right? So that's the same we're gonna write in here. So first of all, we're gonna dispatch an action. The first action that we're gonna dispatch is fetch suggestion start, right? We have started, we have initiated the process for getting data from an API. Now what happens that it can be a try catch block, right? Because maybe we will get the data, maybe we will not get the data. So that's why if we will not get the data, we're going to dispatch an action called fetch suggestion. Now fetch suggestion will have this failure, and the message will be e dot message. Now if we have got the data, so the same thing that we have to do. So what I can do, I am just going to copy the code for fetching data. So we will have the code in here in our suggestions.js. Now we have this code, right? So I'm just going to copy this file, copy this code. Now I'm just going to paste in here. So we have got the user, but we have used this async await, right? So in here you have to pass async so that we can use this async await code. Now we have got these users. Now just I'm going to dispatch the action for this. The action will be face suggestion success. Now in here I'm just going to pass users. So in this part we have talked about our action part, right? Now the other thing that we're going to talk about this reducer, the same thing that we have built in our fetch fits. we are going to write the same thing, but we are going to write our own, because the more you practice, more can you know that what we are doing in our code. Now for this part, we are also gonna write the same thing, fetch session reducer dot js. Now we have created, now in here the same thing, we are going to initiate a state in here. The first part should be false because we haven't started loading. We will get the data, and it should be null first of all. Now again, if we haven't got the data, it means we have a failure, right? So the error should be having. Now I'm going to use export const because we are going to export this file, or sorry, for this function that we're going to write in here. So fetch suggestion, the name of it, fetch suggestion reducer, and we have these params that we can pass: state init action. This means that this default will be init state. Now in here we're gonna pass a switch case such that we can switch over the action type that we have. In our case, the following case that we have is fetch suggestion, and we will have a start. Now if this happens, we're gonna return an state which have a loading to be false, sorry, to be true, because we have started loading and it should be true. Now if we have a suggestion success, okay, it's not success, success. Now if we have this one, now we're gonna return a state with loading to be false and data to be action dot payload. Now maybe there's a case that we will not get the data, and if we not get the data, it means we have an error, and so we are gonna dispatch this action failure, faces and failure. Now if it is this one, then we're gonna return a state. We will have a loading to be false because we will not get anything now, and the error to be nothing, to be action.payload. So this part's done, and the default case you can give return to the state that we have. So this part is also done. Now the one thing that remains is to give into the store. So in our store, the name that I'm going to give is the suggestions, right? Proper name, it can, you can say. So suggestions fetch, so you have to give proper name that whenever another developer will see, they can know what's happening in here. So we have fetch suggestions, right? We haven't get, yeah, we got the fetch suggestions reducer. So we have this fetch suggestions reducer in here. Oh, what's happening here? Is there any wrong? Fetch suggestion is not defined. Okay, just maybe there is not wrong anything. Okay, just save it here. Now go to your suggestions.js. Now we are gonna remove these parts. We don't need these parts. Okay, so in here I'm going to remove it. Now first of all, we are gonna start connecting here. We're gonna use this connect higher order function of React Redux, and we're gonna wrap it up with map state to props and map dispatch to props. Now in here I'm going to use map state to props. We are going to define it, and first of all, what we will get the suggestions, and from the suggestions we will get the data. And what we have done in here in our suggestions part, we just remove this part, what's happening in here. Okay, so in here we're gonna pass these users and the data. So this part's done. Now we're gonna dispatch the actions such that we have to define this map dispatch to props. Now map dispatch to props will have a dispatch as an higher order function, and we're gonna use fetch suggestion and use the function in here and dispatching the function fetch suggestion, sorry, fetch async. So this part done. Now in here we don't need state, we need props, and in here we don't need this part, we need, in here we're gonna use this dot props, this dot props dot fetch suggestion, and just this we're gonna call it. So this parts down what's happening in here, that just go to your reducer, maybe there is some syntax error, right? Oh yeah, there is a syntax error in here. So now it's cool. Yeah, now it's done. Now just checking in here. Okay, so we're gonna check it that we are correct. Okay, we got the data. That's fine. Yeah, so we have fetched data using Thunk middleware for these two, and in the next video we're gonna take to a next level using Redux Saga. So you haven't, maybe you have heard Redux Saga, so just Google and just see what it is, and it's very interesting. You're gonna see how can we done, how can we do for this part maybe. Yeah, so stay tuned for the next video. Hi guys, before you start learning Redux Saga, you have to have a knowledge about generator JavaScript function, because the Saga code that we're gonna write actually written in the generator JavaScript function. Now, for more information, you can go to the developer Mozilla MDN, and there you can search for generator. But I'm going to teach you about this generator function. Now in here, as you can see, the syntax wise, this is a function star and the function name. So in Mozilla MDN you can have two ways to create this function, but I'm going to create using one that, which is the, like, the best way. So the best way is function, then after star, and then after the function name. So I'm going to give the function name as Jane. Now if you're using this generator function, you have this keyword. Now what does this keyword does, that just for right now, just use it, and I'm going to tell what it is. Now if we just write this part, now if, as we know that to get any information, so we're just gonna call this function, right? So if I just type in like this, and now if I just run this file or space index, you can see that we got a generator, but it's an object. So basically we got an object from here. Now in here, for seeing these values, so basically this yield, what it does, that it will stop the code run. Yeah, it basically stop the code run from this second line of code to the, to go to the third line of code. So that's what we are doing. So it will be stopped in this second line of code. Now for seeing the value inside it, we can use this next function, which is a object, which is a key in the object of Jan. Now if I just use this one, node index again, you can see that we got the value 1, and then is false. We will talk about this later. Now you get the value, so you can say that when you use value, you will get the value 1. Now, but we haven't got this value 2 number, right? Number 2, it at the line number 3. So just for now, I'm just going to use a const and name is g equal to gen. Now in here you have a reference of it, so we can use like this g dot next. Now for getting the value at line number 3, you have to again use this. I'm just going to copy it and just paste in here. You have to call it again g dot next. So what it does, g dot next, that it will go to the second after that line of code, second number of line of code. So then we got this value 2 and done to be false. Now again we don't know about this done to be false. So if I just again log it, so just out of curiosity, what is the value that we will get? So as you can see that we have got the value undefined because we have nothing after third line of code. And as you can see, done is true. It means that all the line of code has been run and nothing to show. That means it's finished. Now you have seen this generator function. So yeah, this is what we're gonna see in our Redux Saga. But I'm going to tell more about this gen function, like how can we call another function from this generator. So what you can do, that you can use again yield star and give the name of the function name that you want to give. And here I'm going to pass this 10. Now if I just write again function generator function using function star gen 2, and again I'm going to yield I plus 10. So I'm giving different values in here. Now if I just save it here and again I'm going to run it, and you can see that we got the value. So as you can see that we have run inside a function gen2, and we called this gen function and we got the value. Now as I have said, Redux Saga and Thunk is used for asynchronous process for fetching data from a server, and for that we have seen that we have used async await uh, method. But actually what happens that we cannot use it in our generator function because it doesn't support. That's why. So for that we have another thing in Redux Saga, but you can use the then catch block that you might see that maybe I have implemented, and using that you can try. So yeah, in the next video we were gonna definitely start with Redux Saga and see how can we code it. Yeah, that's all. Thanks. Hi guys, this is the starting video of Redux Saga, and before that we have learned this janitor function, and we have learned how can we code in. We have learned new syntax for janitor function, and we're gonna write that code line of code in our Redux Saga library. Now you will ask, what is Redux Saga? So basically Redux Saga is used for asynchronous purpose like fetching a data from a server, for persisting your data in your browser cache, and it will also optimize your code. It's also used for this failure checking. Now in here we're gonna first of all install our Redux Saga into our repo. So in here in our code sandbox, I'm going to use this Redux Saga. And if you're using your command prompt or the Visual Studio Code, just type in the command npm space redux hyphen saga, and it will be installed into your repo. Now let's just start with our store.js. Now in here, as I have said that Redux Saga is basically used for middleware, right? Like whenever you dispatch some action and it will go to the reducer, in between there is a middleware, like it will do some functionality and it will perform, it will change your output and give it to the reducer. Now in here, what it does, like we are going to import this create saga middleware from Redux Saga. Now we got this Redux Saga, right? We have gotten this Redux Saga, and I'm going to just reference it into this Saga const and use this create Saga middleware. It is a function which also takes some options, and for reference, you can check into the docs. So in here, I have installed this. Sorry, I have referred this const Saga. Now in here what you can do, you can initiate here this saga. Now first of all, whenever you do this, it will be run through this store, and if you use before that saga dot run, it will not be used. Okay, so it will give an error, right? Here, as you can see in here, it will give an error. Before running a Saga, you must mount the Saga middleware on the store using apply middleware. So it means that we have to use this after this. Now, if you used, it will again give an error because you haven't provided any Saga in here. Okay, so better to comment out this code for now. We're gonna see what we can do in the next session, maybe. Now in here, I'm going to create a new new directory called sagas, because there may be a chance, or it will be like you have to create more than one saga. That's why. So why I'm saying saga? So saga is okay. Let's see what it is. So we are building one saga for fetch fits dot saga dot js. Okay, there's no problem with that. We have just created a file. Now in here we are going to create two generator function. You can create any, like any number of generator function, but there are two category of generator function we're gonna build for a saga. There is one called watcher function, that is watcher function in here, and also there is one called worker function. As the name suggests, that this watcher function, what it will do, it will watch for an action, or it will watch for an like a constant later. As you can see that we have this fetch start, fetch fetch start, so it will watch for that type. So that's what this watcher function does, and if it watches that watcher function, it will call another function. What do I mean by that? Just I'm going to write in code. So as the name suggests, I'm going to write as the name, like function star watch fetch uh, fetch fits. So I have just created a name, function name, as the name suggests. It will watch for a fetch fits. Now in here we are gonna use yield. As I have said, for generator function we have yield. Now in here, after that yield, we got many type of side effects thing from Redux Saga, which helps to use this asynchronous process, and it will be in the effects folder. Now what we have in here, we have this type of tick, like tick every, tick tech, and tech latest, tech leading, tech maybe. So in here, two three things are maybe important: tech, tech every, and tech latest. And we're gonna use, or we gonna use only tech latest in here. And I'm going to also differentiate what these take, all this type of takes. Okay, so in here we're gonna use this take latest first of all. Now what it does, we have this take latest, and as you can see that we have to provide a pattern, right? So as I have said that it's gonna watch a type of const type. Yeah, so that's what we are gonna provide in here. It's gonna check for a pattern, right? So we have a pattern: fetch, fetch, start, right? Now in here, after that, we are gonna use this worker function. We're gonna provide a worker function. We haven't defined that worker function right now, but we're gonna use it. So as the name suggests, we're gonna write as it is: worker fetch fits. Now we have used this worker fetch fits. Now I'm going to create a function of worker fetch fits. Now in here we will have a we will have parameters of this fetch fetch start, like we have this type, and if it has some payload it will be there. You can provide, like, it will have a type in here, and it will also have a payload. If this function that we have made in our action.js, right, in here as you can see, this has a type. So it will have a type and payload, but we don't need any type or payload for now. So I'm not going to write anything in here, but you have. Okay, now in here we're gonna write for success and failure, right? We're gonna write for we're gonna fetch the data in here. So first of all, we're gonna use this try catch block, and e for error is if there is an error. Now in here I'm going to use a new effect called put. Now I haven't thought about this take latest, I haven't thought about put, but I'm going to taught you what these all means. But let's see. Now in here, put, we have provided this put in here, sorry, we have to provide using yield, right? Yield, put, and the function name. Okay, the action that you're gonna use. So the action, as name suggests, we're gonna use fetch fetch. Oh, we haven't exported it, right? So go to your fetch fetch.action and just export all this function, right, so that we can import it into our Saga's file. So yeah, it's done. Now go to your Saga. Now if we get, okay, we don't get the import files. Now just going to use it like this. We are gonna get from dot slash, right, action slash phfits.action, and we need two files in here. First one is fetch fits failure, and second one is fetch fits success. We got two files, and in here I'm going to provide fetch fits failure, and it need an error. As here, as you can see that it has a params, right? You can give the name, you can pass the params in here. So as I have said, that Saga helps to um, catch the error in here very efficiently. So you can see, just like this, we can pass the error message. Now once again, we haven't like get the data, right? So we're gonna get the data. So first of all, we're gonna use our response, and again I'm going to use yield, and there is one more effect that we got from Redux Saga, and it is call. So as the name suggests, call is like a method that you're gonna call for any action, for any response that you wanna get. So first of all, in here, you're gonna provide the function name. Okay. So we have this Axios, right? We have installed this Axios in here, right? Axios. Okay, we have an install. So just install it. Okay, so I'm going to install Axios for now. Okay, we have installed it. Okay, yeah. Now in here, I'm going to use it. Axios. We got the Axios or not? Okay, just import it here. So import Axios from Axios. Now we got the Axios, right? Axios.get we need. And after that, you're gonna provide the params that you wanna pass. So we have a param, right? We have the URL as a param in here. So go to your components. Okay, you don't have to go to your components. You have to go in here. Okay, just copy this file. Sorry, copy this URL, and in here you can just pass in here like it is. Now what happens as you have done this, if we got the data, we're gonna again use this yield put for dispatching the action. Of we if we got an error, we're gonna use we have this yield put fetch fits failure, right? So again we're gonna use this yield. Again you're gonna use, so as the name suggests, you have got the idea of about put. Yeah, it used for dispatching the action. In in what Redux Thunk we have used this dispatch, right? This dispatch to dispatch the action. In here we have put for dispatching the action. So in here we're gonna use fetch fetch success and the name, oh sorry, and the data in here. Just like this, we have made our watcher function and worker function. So now in the next video we're gonna see that we have built this watcher function and the worker function, but we haven't dispatched the action. So in the next video we're gonna dispatch the action and see what it does. That's all for now. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome to the video. So I have said in the previous video that we're gonna dispatch the action, but I haven't talked about this terminology like take latest, put, call in like very brief manner I have said. So let's I'm going to talk it out here. Now what the take latest or take every is that if you're gonna dispatch one action, there may be a time that at the same time you're gonna dispatch the same action again. Okay, like if you just click on this button, okay, and if there is some time that you're gonna click on again and again, so what's happening that you're gonna dispatch the action again and again. So in the meantime, what happens that when one action is going on and you have got the new you have dispatched a new action, okay, before finishing that previous action. So that what this take latest and take every and type of text that helps. So what happens in take every, right? So what happens in take every, that if you click on this again and again, it will it will dispatch that every action that you have passed, whether it is whether it is whether it is completed or not. It will dispatch again and again the same action. Now what this take latest does, that if you click many times, and it will only dispatch the latest dispatch action that you have done. It will revoke the previous action and it will only used for the new action. So this is the benefit of this take latest, that if you have typed again and again the same button, the take latest, what it will do, it will only check for the new action, it will check for the next action, it will it will block the previous action. Okay, so that is what take latest does. Now I have talked about the sport in the previous video, that this is basically what this dispatch the action, right, that you have defined into your fetch.action.js. Now I haven't talked about this call in very brief manner. I have talked. So this call is basically what it is, that in brief manner what I can say, that this call will take a method. Okay, a method that you're gonna pass, any method that you can pass in here. Okay, and after that it will take the parameters for the previous for this method. Okay, parameter can be anything. Okay, so parameter after this also can, it will, you can pass param 2, you can pass param 3. So but these all parameters will be of the same function. So this is what it means. So if you're using for very, you just want to get data, so basically this is the very good way, it is very the best way you can say, because you just have to pass the function, and this function will have the parameter of this URL, and after that you will get the data. So this is what it is. Now in here we are going to use it, we are going to dispatch the function, but first of all we're going to use this as an export, because we need somewhere else this function, not in the dispatch, but we're going to see, we're going to create a new file in here first of all, and the new file name is root saga.js. So as the name suggests, you have this root reducer, right, and we are combining all the reducer into one place, right. Now in here what it does, we're gonna use again export function star root saga, and root saga will take a yield. Again we're gonna use this call. No, we're gonna call, but we're gonna need this all. So this all function, what it will take all the effects that we have built in here. Okay, so what do I mean by that, that all the watcher function that we have made. Okay, so all me this all what it will do, it will used for this, it will, what it is, create an effect description that instruct the middleware to run multiple effects in parallel and wait for all of them to complete. It's quite the corresponding API is a standard promise all. Okay, so you have understood it, right? So this is basically promise all, that it will wait for all the effects to be placed and then it will be done. Okay, so in here this watch that we have built, the watch fetch fits, that's what we're gonna use, and for the purpose we're gonna use like this call. Now if you have more than one watch function, you can just provide in here. Okay, so we need, because we also going to use for suggestion fetching, right, so we're gonna need also this. So for now this is good. Now in here we have done this part. Now we're gonna need this store.js. In our store.js we're gonna uncomment out this code, and we're gonna use this root saga in here, and that's it. Yeah, that's it, we have used it. Okay, we haven't dispatched the function, right? But we have done the more most of the part. Only we need to dispatch the action. Now go to your where do you have to go? We have to go into the fits.js. Now in our fits.js, we're gonna again dispatch the action fits by Saga, and in here the watch function have the pattern of fetch fits start, right? You have seen, right? Now that's why we have used this fetch fits start in here. Now in here I'm just gonna use it here, fetch fits by Saga. That's it. That's what we need. And let's just check that we got the UI. Perfect. Yeah, we got the UI. So it's gonna run using our, what we say, our Saga. We have used Saga for this part. And now in the next video we're gonna use the same for this suggestion, and we're gonna write this all code again by ourselves, so that we have a, like, we have a handle on it, that we can write again this code in somewhere else. So yeah, that's all. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome to the last video of Redux Saga. So in here we're gonna dispatch action for getting the data of this suggestions. Now in here we have get the data of these fates using Saga. Now we are going to do the same thing for these suggestions. Now first of all, what we need a file of it. So I'm just going to create a new file called face suggestion.saga.js. Now, as I have created this new file, there I'm going to explain the same thing that I have discussed previous. Now in here what we need two type of function, that is worker function and second is watcher function. Now what are these functions that I have talked about in the previous videos? That this watcher function, what it does, that it will watch for the pattern that you have dispatched from the UI. So I'm going to give the name as watch fetch fetch suggestion. Now what it does, it will watches the pattern that you have dispatched from the UI side. Now in here export that we need, because we are going to export this watcher function. Now first of all we need this yield keyword. Now here the effects that we got from our Redux Saga are, there are three that we need, that we use, that is take latest and put and call. Now I have elaborated what it is, so I'm just going to go in brief. Now in here take latest, what it will do, it will watches for a pattern that you have dispatched. Now the pattern that we have dispatched is fetch suggestion start. Now I don't know the name is correct or not, so I'm just going to use Control P and go to our fetch suggestion.action. And in here, as you can see, the type is the same. Now we can give here the worker function that we're gonna define. So the worker function that I'm going to create is worker fetch suggestion. Okay, now I'm going to create this new worker fetch suggestion. Now this is also a generator function. Now all the work that you're gonna do is here. Now we have access to the params that you have defined in this action, this faces and start action, but we haven't used any, so we don't need to do anything in here. Now I'm going to use try catch block for response or for error catching purpose. So as I have said that it is very efficient way of catching the error that you have in getting the data from the server. Now in here, for that, what we need a put that we got from effects. Put is basically a dispatch kind of way that Redux Saga provides info from where you're gonna dispatch some action. Now which action we're gonna use is fetch suggestion failure. Now in here I'm going to use fetch suggestion failure and the message that we're going to provide. Now in here, what we need a response, right? So we're gonna get response. Again, we are going to use yield, because before that we are going to use a effect of this Redux Saga that is called. In here you're gonna give the method that you're gonna use, and I'm going to use this axios method. Okay, axios is basically a third-party library that I have used for fetching data. Now in here, after this second parameter, we are going to provide the URL. Now for the URL, you can get in from here this action file. Now I'm just going to copy it and just going to paste in here. Now we got the data. For getting the data, what we need again a yield, because we're gonna use again one effect of this Redux Saga, that is put for dispatching the action, and we need faces and success and the response or data that I'm going to use for it. Now this is done. This is basically all done. Now go to your root saga.js, and in here what we need to provide the watcher function that you have exported from this faces fetch suggestion.saga. Now in here what I have provided is watch fetch suggestion. Yeah, this is what we need. I'm just going to, yeah, it's been saved. Now go to your suggestion.js. Now in here I'm going to create a new key value pair for using Saga fetching method. So fetch session by Saga. Now again we are going to dispatch the action. So in here, which dispatch action that you're gonna provide? So basically the action pattern that the watcher function will see. So it's basically the start that you have defined. Fetch session start is basically that you want to use in here. Now in here what we need by Saga, because we are going to use Saga in here. Now this is all done. Now let's see the result that we got or not. Okay, so yeah, we got the result, we got the suggestion, we got the fits. Now this is the way that the Redux Saga works. Now let's see in the next video what we're gonna see next for the React course. That's all. Thanks.